Some conversations aren't just important, they're life-saving. We live in a world where it's so easy to miss the signs that someone is struggling, especially when we've learned to hide it behind a smile, by staying busy, anything like that. And yet, some of these smallest moments of connection, a quick phone call, a quick text, a shared cup of coffee, even a simple "how are you?" really, and really meaning that and listening to that, can be the first thread of a safety net. And so today's episode is about that kind of prevention. That kind that doesn't just wait for a breaking point, but also that kind that weaves connection into everyday life. Welcome back to Conversations and Reflections with Dr. KSB, a space where social work, mental health, and lived experience meet. I'm your host, Dr. Karan Spixpadia, or simply Dr. KSB. That's what my family calls me. And today we're diving into that everyday prevention, and we're exploring how these ordinary acts can really play a huge and vital role in things like suicide prevention and in supporting recovery from substance use and other addictions. Because prevention isn't just a hotline or just a treatment plan. It's in the relationships we nurture and in the community we build long before a crisis arrives. So let me share a quick story. I have people in my life that will check in on me. They haven't heard from me for a while, something like that, that has been really helpful. My family, my friends, coworkers that will check in just to see how things are going. And that has really been helpful. That's that everyday prevention. And that's what that looks like. That consistency, that care, that connection. I do the same for people. Not only as a therapist, but as a person in my personal life. We never know what will help people in those moments. So I'm going to pause here and take a few seconds. Just think about a time when someone's small check-in really mattered to you. And hold on to that memory for a few moments. That is the power of everyday prevention. Before we go any further, though, I do want to acknowledge that today's conversation will touch on topics such as suicide, suicidal thoughts, substance use. And so if these topics are sensitive or triggering, please listen in a way that feels safe for you. So that might mean pressing pause, coming back later, or even listening with someone you trust. I also want to throw out there, this episode is for educational and reflective purposes only. It is not a substitute for any sort of professional medical or mental health advice. So if you or someone you know is in crisis, you can call or text 988 in the US for that free and confidential support, and they do that 24/7. And if you're seeking support for substance use, you can call the SAMHSA hotline at 1-800-662-4357. So now let's just jump right into it. And let's start with what I mean by the everyday prevention. So I did provide that example in that reflective prompt as well. But something that we want to think about is, what does everyday prevention look like? It's the practice of creating consistent and genuine connections with people in our lives so that when those challenging times come up, and as we all know, they will. Unfortunately, we will have some challenging times. But as those things come up, the bridge to trust is already there with someone, something, whatever comes up for you. And so when we think about this, when it comes to suicide prevention, recovery from substances and other addictions, research shows that connection is one of the strongest protective factors for people. And so people are more likely to share what they're going through when they already feel seen, feel valued, feel heard, feel safe. And when I talk about safe and safety, that's not just physical safety, emotional safety, mental safety. We have to be mindful of what that looks like for people. And so everyday prevention is about building a network of care before things reach that crisis point. It's creating a space where people feel safe to talk about things about cravings, triggers, emotions, thoughts, challenges that are coming up in their lives. And knowing that those conversations will be met with compassion and not judgment. And so that is what is so important when it comes to this everyday prevention. And what I think about when I talk about what everyday prevention looks like. And so let's bring this close to home. So for me, everyday prevention has meant leaning into self-care practices, reaching out to family, reaching out to friends, being open and honest with my family, with my friends, with my partner about the things that I'm going through, the things that I'm experiencing. Because I haven't had alcohol for a while. And that's why this feels so close to me and something that I like to talk about. Because recovery and wellness don't happen in isolation. That community, that support is something that comes and helps us build and create a space where we feel safe, we feel comforted to be able to continue in our recovery. So one thing that I would like for you to do, if you're able to, just like the previous episodes, I'd like to throw out these little reflection moments throughout the episode. For this one, if you can, grab a pen. Or if you're not able to do it, just think, or save this for later. And just think about for a moment these 3 questions. Who are the 3 people you check in on most regularly? Who are the people that check in on you regularly? And is there someone you haven't connected with in a while who might benefit from hearing from you today? And so these lists that you just made, that's prevention in action. That's building community. That's building support. That's what we look like and look at. And what I talk about and what I think about when I think about that everyday prevention. And so something that we also want to pay attention to is that everyday prevention doesn't mean you have to be a mind reader. But it does mean being tuned in to notice any changes. And this is within yourself, but also within others around you. And so for suicide risk, you may have warning signs that may look like withdrawal from friends or activities that the person liked. Talking about feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, feeling like a burden. There may be big shifts in things around sleep, appetite, mood, those types of things we want to look out for. When we look at recovery, some early signs that may come up may be skipping support meetings, isolating from peers, isolating from family, isolating from friends, Not going to their meetings, talking more about old habits and old friends that and places where they may have used before in a way that's really like reminiscent. And then other signs of stress that may just go unaddressed. These are things that we want to look out for. And so let's put this into more of a scenario that we can connect this to. So imagine your best friend usually texts you every morning saying hello. They may text you a funny meme, something like that. And suddenly a week goes by, a couple weeks go by, and there's just straight silence. You might brush it off, but the everyday prevention may say check in. There might be something going on. But also, you know your friend. So for me, I can honestly say there may be a couple weeks that goes by before, say, a friend does check in on me. But that's because we sort of have that mentality or that relationship. I'm I will honestly say sometimes I'm really bad at texting. But we know when that sort of sweet spot is of when we might need to reach out to each other. And we will do that. And that goes with family too. Mostly with family, it's less less time of a week, 2 weeks. It might be a couple days, at most a week. And that is something we want to do. And again, that is what everyday prevention might look like. And it doesn't have to be anything complicated. When you're texting, when you're checking in, when you're calling, whatever, it could just be, hey, I noticed you've been a little bit quieter lately. How you doing? What's going on? Is there something that you need? Something I can help with? And that, I know for me personally, that is really helpful. And if I don't want to talk at that moment, I will usually send something to say, hey, I'm okay. I just don't want to talk right now. Or I'm going through something. I will reach out in a little bit. Or even like if you're texting, maybe it's a certain emoji that you send to each other to check in. Maybe it's a certain meme that you send to each other to check in. Whatever works for you all. So another thing that could be helpful, especially when it comes to feeling a little bit more comfortable with being able to reach out to somebody. Take a moment and say out loud one compassionate opening line that you could use with someone you're concerned about. What is that would help you to feel comfortable with checking in on someone? And so those words might feel awkward at first, but it's that practice that may make it a little bit more natural when it matters the most. My sometimes my opening line is, "Hey, just been thinking about you." And that opens the gates for us to have a conversation, or for the person to say, "Oh yeah, I'm good. Been thinking about you too." Or "Thanks for checking in," or anything like that. If I haven't heard from a client in a while, "Hey, just checking in. How are things going? It's been a little bit since we've talked. I just wanted to check in to see what's been going on. Would you like to schedule a session?" Something like that. And that is my consistent thing that I will send out to clients in particular. And so additionally, we wanna think about that trust aspect. So as I said, we in order for us to have this everyday prevention, it's not going to happen in isolation. And so we have to build trust with the people that we're around, the people that we're trying to help, and that's not going to be built in the middle of a crisis. It has to be built long before that, before the crisis hits. And so we might look at how can we have these conversations? These conversations around recovery, substance use, around suicide can be really hard. But if we're able to talk openly about mental health, about substances during those calm moments, that may help someone build that confidence and that comfortability with you to be able to have that conversation. But it's also being able to build that comfortability within yourself to be able to even have the conversations. We also want to show up without judgment. So if someone's telling you they're having cravings, they're thinking about suicide, anything like that, our role is not to shame them. Our role is to say, thank you for telling me. I'm glad you told me. What do you need right now? What can I help with? Is there something that I can help with right now? Or is it just, we're just sitting together? And that's okay. And those small actions will matter. Remembering birthdays, remembering days, anniversaries, things like that. That can be so helpful for people. Following up with people after a tough day, after a good day, just checking in, celebrating little milestones, listening without rushing to fix. This is something that I've had to work on a lot ever since I started being a therapist. What does it look like for me to just listen and not try to fix what's going on? Is there truly a fix at this point anyway? The person may just need to sit with you for a little bit. Or you may just need to sit with someone for a little bit if you are the one who's experiencing something at that point. And so as we're building that trust up, when trust is steady, it becomes that bridge that carries someone across those hard times. And so how do we bring this into our daily lives? Like I said, it may be checking in regularly. A quick thinking of you text or call can mean the world to someone. Learning the resources, so things like 988, SAMHSA, any local support groups. And actually at the end of this, I will provide some more resources and I'll link them in the show notes as well. But knowing what those resources are. Being present without the agenda. So again, not trying to find a fix, but can I just sit with you? Can you just sit with me? Can we take a walk? Can we cook together? Can we go to a meeting together? That is something that can be helpful. Because you never know the impact that some message, some support, some of these strategies may have on someone. But that prevention often looks like an invisible work. Unless someone has said to you, this was so helpful to me. Thank you. Thank you for being there. And so before we close, I want to throw out some of those resources. And like I said, I'm going to put these in the show notes as well. But we have the 988 crisis, suicide and crisis lifeline. So you can call or text 988. That's for the US. We also have the crisis text line where you can text home to 741 741. I talked about the SAMHSA hotline. You can also do the Veterans Crisis line, and that's by calling 988 and pressing 1. The AFSP, so the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. If you go AFSP.org, you can find some resources there. And then Findtreatment and Shatterproof. So Findtreatment.gov and Shatterproof.org are both places that you can find recovery programs, local treatment, searching up those resources there. And for any listeners that might be outside of the US, please take a moment to look up some hotlines in your country. Save it to your phone, share it with your loved ones. It's can be so important. It may be something that you use for yourself. So I want to leave you on a couple things. Prevention isn't just for professionals. It's for all of us. Every conversation, every laugh, every quiet moment that we have can help build a foundation that can hold someone up when they need it most. And so if you are able, I want to close out with a short meditation, reflection type of thing. So if you're able, close your eyes and take a deep breath in. And now out. And picture someone you care about. Imagine them sending warmth, safety, and love. And hold on to that moment. That's prevention. And that's connection. And so until next time, thank you so much for listening, coming back. Please share, please like, send this to someone who may need it. And keep connecting, keep reflecting, and keep showing up for yourself and for others.